You're on the air.
It's time for the BS Sports Show. We want to hear from you, so call us on the BS line. Now here's Billy Elvis and the BS Sports Show.
Hey, welcome back to show number 2. Live. All over the show. That works. I don't know that. We're claiming today. We have got a full slate, including a guest today. Our buddy, our pal, John McMullen, talking NBA with us at about 7:15. And he's at JF McMullen on Twitter. At P. DePremio is Pete DePremio. News Sentinel IU and Purdue writer, that's at 7:45. And at 8:15, IPFW head basketball coach for the men's team, John Kaufman, joins us. Their impressive win streak just snapped at the first-place team this past weekend. We'll talk to Coach Kaufman about that at about 8:15 tonight. Not only that, man, you got Adrian Peterson wanting to be out of Minnesota. So where does he go? Does the Colts take a shot at him? I know he said he wanted to go to Dallas, but Dallas doesn't have the money. Dallas has got DeMarco.
If DeMarco Murray's walking, they've got the money.
Yeah, maybe, but they still got to sign Dez. So we'll see. But that'll be a conversation. We'll talk a little bit about Marshawn Lynch trademarking his famous Super Bowl phrase this year. And how about storming the court? Yeah, it comes into play again, right in the middle of a heartland of America. Storming the court.
I think like you've been there before. I mean, in a game where I understand Kansas State is unranked and they beat Kansas, but they did it last year. It's not like they haven't done it in 20 years. You know, like there's certain times it feels right. Remember a few years back when Indiana had been awful for years, and they finally beat Kentucky on the Christian Watford's last-second shot. That felt like it was okay. It felt like it was needed. But last night, and then people coming on the court, hitting the opposing players, knocking Bill Self into the scorer's table, just it wasn't done well.
You know, you're right. It used to be a special occasion, like you said. IU knocking off number 1 Kentucky down there in Bloomington.
Right, and they had been awful. And they had been awful for years. So it was, you know, they were on the rise again. So it felt right. But last night, I mean, you beat Kansas a year ago. It's not a special thing.
You know, and what did they think was going to happen? You got some young students there, and yeah, I know they don't serve alcohol in university venues, whether it's football, basketball, or whatever. But those kids are drinking.
Well, and that's the thing. You encourage them then to drink a lot very quickly before they come in. Yeah, so that's the problem there.
And drinking or not, when you tolerate, when you condone the atmosphere of these guys just forgetting about the rules during, meaning don't go on the court, and letting them run down there on the court, you know, something bad's going to happen when there's a stampede of youngsters.
Well, and I can see how Bill Self after the game is upset. Mike Krzyzewski's been upset. A lot of these teams, it happens to all the time. You know, when somebody beats Duke, and if it's an unranked team, it happens to them a lot. It happens to Kansas a lot. And it's going to get to the point where, you know, when I take my kids to a game, that's the last thing I want to happen is all these fans come rushing as I'm, you know, holding a baby or have my daughter there. You know, even when I'm there, and, you know, there's people swearing around me. You know, I'll give it a minute to stop or ask them nicely. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to grab an usher and say, hey, look, come on, cut this out.
Yeah, and it's just a precursor, and it's stopped. You know, and then you're gonna hear everybody say, oh, they're not letting anybody have any fun. Or they're not letting anybody celebrate. Yeah, well, what about those soccer matches over there? They're ignited and grandstands are knocked down and riots ensue and people are killed. Oh, will it be fun then? Right. So, you know, my point is, you know, you put together an environment where anarchy can occur, and anarchy will occur.
And imagine if you know, the guy who gets hit last night is seriously injured. Imagine if it's last year and it was Andrew Wiggins by a fan rushing the court. Or, so let's say, you know, I have people today talking about, well, they need to add more security. Well, the ticket prices will rise. Well, then don't be idiots. Don't be idiots. I think that if somebody gets on the court as a player, you should be allowed to deck him. You should be allowed to hit him as hard as you want to. You know, a couple of years ago, I understand Ron Artest went into the stands, but as soon as fans started to come on the court in Detroit, you should have had full reign to do what you want.
Yeah, but then again, you got one of them soft basketball players, you know, and he punches somebody in the hard head, and then they broke their hand, trying, you know, because somebody's on the floor in their face.
Right. I remember Jermaine O'Neal, though, straight just knocked the dude out as he came running on the floor and sliding there. In wrestling, if a guy jumped the barricade and got into the ring, you were allowed to beat on him until security got there. And it kept him from, you know, kept that same guy. It's just it's to the point that where somebody's going to get seriously injured. Bill Self could have been injured last night very easily. He got knocked in that scores table, and Bruce Weber had to grab him to keep him from going over it. And Brent Musburger was funny on the call. He's just somebody's knocking over the TV monitors like he had to pay for him or something.
Watch the TV monitors. It's like your grandpa. I don't know. On one hand, we used to think it was all right. It's okay. Youthful exuberance, big win. Sure, we knocked off Kansas. We knocked off Duke. We knocked off Kentucky. Let's celebrate. But then, it goes back to what I just said. It seems like these are getting more and more violent. They're all trying to one-up themselves with this court storming. And I love what they did up in South Bend when they knocked off Duke up there. And, that's a big win for Mike Bray and the Irish, who haven't had very big wins in his career. But knocking off Duke, top 10 team in your building, and then having your players have the presence of mind to say, all right, now let's hold back on this storm in the court thing. We want to act like we've been here. That's one thing. We want to act like we've been here before. But the other thing is just the maturity of the Fighting Irish saying, all right, we don't need to show up Mike Krzyzewski and Duke because we just got a victory in our building over them. So let's calm down, people. Calm down.
Did it make you feel old today thinking about that, though? How now before you probably would have stormed the court, and now you're against it? It made me feel old. Very old.
I was hanging goalposts in Ann Arbor in the day when I was a kid.
That's shocking.
Michigan win and pulling on the goalposts and that kind of thing.
When did that achieve, though? Because I've never done it. I've never had a chance. Maybe just all the teams I like suck. That could be one of the problems. But what is it about pulling down the goalposts at your own school? Like, it seems like you would be nice to, maybe do it to the opposing school, but was it help? It'd be like if I got mad at you throwing my cell phone against the wall. Like, well, how does that really help me? I just busted my phone. What's it pulling your own goalpost down?
Well, let's go one step further, and I'll go back to my Detroit roots. And I remember when the Tigers won the World Series in '84. First, when they got to the World Series, just winning the American League pennant, people started ripping up the field, and you think to yourself, well, why are we ripping up the turf? What am I going to do with this grass? Am I going to have this grass in my freezer or grow it in my backyard forever? And that is just an aspect. The other aspect is now we just put this grounds crew through hell to get this field ready for the World Series, which is the next series.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing I never understood is, okay, we win a championship. Now let's tear down our town.
Yeah, flipping over cop cars, lighting them on fire, looting. It's like, I know that this isn't everybody, but it becomes a problem when crowds start. It's almost like the philosophy of something going viral on the World Wide Web. Behavior becomes viral. All of a sudden, people are storming the court or storming the streets, and people just want to follow suit, and it gets out of hand. But I don't know. I guess you're right. It does kind of age you a little bit when you say to yourself, that's not being very responsible. Why don't we just sit here and be calm after the big victory?
Yeah, it was funny. I remember a couple of years ago, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been Louisville when they won, but I could be a year or two off. I remember, some of the city leaders were happy for the school, but they're like, part of them, they didn't want Louisville to win because of what it was going to cost the city if things got out of hand. And it got a little out of hand, not too much, but it's to the point to where I don't know. I understand fun, but tearing up my own stuff it doesn't seem like that much fun to me.
Well, when is it acceptable to storm the field? Does it have to be a championship? Does it have to be a conference championship or a national championship?
Well, I think if IPFW knocked off a Purdue or a Michigan State, I think that would be okay. That would be the biggest win in the school's history. I think that would be okay. Plus, you're talking about 2,000 compared to 20,000, I guess, but. Championships, I think, are okay, but if it's a big win for a small school, over a ranked opponent, team, they've never gotten a win like that, maybe.
Do you remember one of the 27 Yankee World Series?
I try to forget them, but yeah.
One of the more recent ones, you noticed that you had New York's finest lined all the way around the field, right. Around the railing, around the whole field. Right. If New York's finest can come out in force for a baseball game and protect people getting on the field on a playing surface as large as a baseball field, they should be able to have enough security without charging too much more for tickets to surround a basketball court to keep the celebration in the seats.
Well, that's the thing with the Yankees, too, fans. Why would they storm the field? If you won 4 or 5 in the last 5 or 6 years, what's the point? It should be old hat. Again, I think that somebody said the best today, act like you've been there before.
Yeah.
Then I don't think that
Maybe have New York's finest surrounding the field so nobody goes out there and kills A-Rod.
Right. And you would figure there would be some big cornbread dudes that could get in Kansas, in Manhattan, Kansas, to be around that.
Yeah, true.
But you look about it in terms of like a daycare. They've got to have like one teacher for every 8 kids. And now you've got 15,000 for what? 30 people, 50 security guys? I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, I suppose. Get the wrestling team out there. Hey, wrestling team, line the court. We'll feed you in food.
I know there's a picture on Twitter today from the Kansas State Police Department looking for some certain people who've hit certain players, looking for them. I don't know. It's just, and maybe it's just because we're old now. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what happened to us. We've transitioned into the part to where, hey, you damn kids, get off my lawn. No,
that's not what it is for me. For me, it's just more how it's become one-upsmanship. Number one, it's not special anymore.
Right,
people storm the court almost after every win. If it's a thrilling win, even though you were supposed to win, but it's a thrilling win, a three-pointer at the buzzer or a bucket at the buzzer, and then people are storming the court because, ooh, what a great comeback win. It's become too common, and then one-upsmanship means it's just getting too crazy, too much going on. Players have to defend themselves. Coaches have to defend themselves. It's not a celebration anymore. It's not just people running around having fun. Now there's violence attached to it in one-upsmanship.
Or people, hey, if you retweet this 100 times, I'll jump onto the field.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, though, have some balls and go out like the guy did to LeBron a couple of years ago when he's on the court in Cleveland, tell him to come home. If you really want to impress me, go out right there when he's shooting a free throw. Now I'm impressed.
And we're all for the young, very good-looking 21 and over college girls to go out there and streak. Because I'm cool with that. I think streaking is wonderful.
What happened to the days when it was just happy fun, like when Morgana would get on the field and run around with her thingies bouncing and kissing the guys on the cheek?
Yeah, I always wondered
so simple back then.
Why did the guys think that was an honor? Why did players back in the day think that was an honor? I'd be like, get your big fat butt and them big giant balloons away from me.
I think it was like in the movie Bull Durham.
Badge of honor.
When you slept with Susan Sarandon's character, you were the next one to make it to the show. I think that's what it was. It was a badge of honor, just like that.
Absurdity in sports? Nah, there's no absurdity in sports. None whatsoever.
Yeah, does it make you feel dumb? Both of us played Trivia Crack. I can't name who the 16th president was the other day because I wasn't
Abraham Lincoln.
I know. I got it wrong by accident. What I'm saying is, though, then the sports question comes up next, and I nail that one. I was like, God, what's happening? Sports is taking over my life in such ways. I'm ready to start. I'll be damned if I don't know a sports question over who the president is.
All right, let's take a break. This is the brand new BS Sports Show, and he's Mo Time at Mo Radio Show on Twitter, at Billy Elvis. Got the phone number of the text line handy? I misplaced my information.
347-324-5252. 324-5252. The text line is very special because I don't know it either. It's secret.
See how new the show is? I don't even know our phone number or text line.
1898.
One more time?
260-245-1898.
All right, going to get a break in. The first of our guests is coming your way next. And, he's been on the BS Sports Show before, and big-time guest of at Mo Radio Show as well.
And he used to cover the Minnesota Vikings for a long time, so it'll be nice to get his perspective about Adrian Peterson.
Yeah. So maybe some on AP, a little on the NBA. At JF McMullen is his name. Jeff McMullen is next on the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygagging ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big-ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big-ass savings.
I'd love some big-ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big-ass discount.
Big-ass discount.
A really big-ass discount.
Really big-ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big-ass problem.
Totally solves my big-ass problem.
Dad, look at that big-ass truck.
And big-ass man.
Hello, big-ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big-ass savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls Night Out and Girls Night In and road trips, and the scenic route, and swimming, and weekly car washes, and making connections, and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash, and do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale Cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
It's the BS Sports Show.
This man is hanging by a string. I think that he is a borderline psychotic at this point.
We got to talk to Connor Henry, got to talk to Phil B. Wilson, got to talk to our buddy Gary Graham from the Comets, and also Ben Smith. So great night, somewhere in attendance. Oh, and you lost to Cobra Rhodes, 17-time world arm wrestling champ. I don't think that's anything to be embarrassed of, though, Mo.
I don't remember that. I remember me putting his arm down to the table.
Oh, yeah.
Whether he let me do it or not, who's to say? But you know what? I'm not one to. I don't need to have pride or an ego. I'm happy with the win.
It's your story, and you're sticking to it. At any rate, we got a guest on the line right now. No stranger to Admo Radio Show or the BS Sports Show. It's John McMullen. John, how's your day going, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're really glad you could join us tonight, man. Much appreciated. Well, I think the whole sports world a buzz about what's happening with Adrian Peterson. You spent some time there in Minnesota. So your thoughts on AP, and his days are obviously done in Minnesota, regardless of what his dad says. But is there a chance he's a Viking?
No, I don't think so. I kind of wrote about it this week in my column. He felt very disrespected by the organization, and the fact that from his eyes, they didn't stand behind him after a number of years, and he went through some hard times. So that's kind of the way that camp is spinning it, and they're particularly upset with Kevin Warren, who's the COO of the Vikings. Used to be the head of legal affairs and just got promoted recently. So I think that rubbed Peterson the wrong way, because he was the one kind of working with the league to get him on that commissioner's exempt list, and he was concerned about obviously the brand of the Minnesota Vikings and the fact that some sponsors jumped off and didn't want Adrian Peterson playing for the Vikings. I think that was the logical conclusion. But his way of looking at it is that he's had a number of years and with the team, and when things went south for him, instead of standing behind him, they kind of jumped ship on him.
What happened in Indianapolis with AP's agent and a member of the Minnesota Vikings? Rumor has it they almost came to fisticuffs in Indianapolis?
Yeah, that was the story going around. They almost came to blows, Ben Dogra and the Vikings salary cap guy Rob Rosinski. So, somebody had to step in and in between them. And obviously, there's a lot of bitterness, as I said, mainly coming from the Peterson camp. I think there's really two camps on the Vikings side. The football people want him back. They think he could certainly help Teddy Bridgewater, who they see as an ascending player. And obviously, if you have a running game with Adrian Peterson, that's going to help your quarterback. But the front office is has to look at the business aspect of things. And truth be told, I think they would welcome him back this year. Time heals all wounds. But from the other side, it's the fact that the bitterness is not going away, and the fact that the Peterson side just thinks the Vikings, abandoned him at his time of need.
Do the Vikings cut AP now, or do they try to trade him? You can't really let Adrian Peterson go for nothing, can you?
Well, the problem is he's got a big salary cap number, so it would be difficult to trade him at any, and anyway, just because the position as a whole has been devalued so much in the NFL, and he's obviously scheduled to be the highest paid running back as he was last year for playing one game. And there aren't many teams that are going to be willing to take on that kind of cap number. So there's two hurdles you have to overcome. You have to obviously find a willing trade partner, and then you have to assume that those two, and the Peterson camp and the new team, are going to work out an extended deal that takes that cap number down. So it's going to be very difficult. You're never going to get value for a player like Adrian Peterson because obviously that's just not the way the NFL works, and draft picks are valued above all else, and even an all-pro running back at the top of his game. And people still think Peterson will be when he returns. He's not going to fetch much on the trade market.
There are some people out there that say that, maybe the Cowboys will end up with Adrian Peterson, especially if they can't sign DeMarco Murray, maybe not. But then there's the talk about the Indianapolis Colts. They have so much cap space, and since they've struck out with the running back position quite a bit lately, Ahmad Bradshaw, maybe the best they've had in the last couple of years, and he hasn't even played the last couple of years because he's been hurt. So you can see where the Colts might be potentially in the mix, but does Adrian Peterson's past scare a team like Colts have such the squeaky clean image?
I don't think it would. I think it would be easier for another city to spin it as, the old people deserve second chances, and
right.
That's the way they would move forward with it. Obviously, his desire would be to go back to Texas. He's always, and he's not been shy about saying he'd like to play for the Dallas Cowboys, and for that matter, Jerry Jones hasn't been shy about saying he would like Adrian Peterson. So that would be the place that he personally would want to end up. But again, the Vikings hold all the cards. He's under contract. And if there is a team willing to take on that cap number, even a team with the space, and I don't believe that to be the case, but if it were, the Vikings could always, show a little bitterness of their own and trade him to whoever they want to.
Talking with our NFL Insider John McMullen from the Sports Network. I saw something today that gave me a great laugh, and I don't know that it was meant to be. Sam Bradford says that he doesn't want to take a pay cut, but he doesn't want to leave St. Louis either. The guy hasn't played in a couple of years, but he doesn't want to take a pay cut. He's still the last guy to get that big first-round draft pick money. What's going to happen with Sam Bradford and the quarterback position in St. Louis?
Well, they're one of those teams. They have to fix the quarterback position. I think everyone looks at the Rams and the roster and what they built there, and they kind of say to themselves if they can only get competent play at the quarterback position, maybe they could make a run toward the playoffs. And they've been, hanging on a wing and a prayer with Sam Bradford to begin with, because he never lived up to his billing when he was healthy as the number one overall pick. So they're in a tough spot. This is not the year to be looking for a quarterback. Both in the draft, there's only two guys with a first-round grade, and in free agency where your best options are, Mark Sanchez or Jake Locker or hoping, Matt Castle gets cut. So the Rams need a quarterback, and I think they would like to bring Sam Bradford back, but obviously it has to be at a lesser number. I mean, even if he was healthy and playing, he hadn't lived up to that contract. So, they're the team that knows him best. They're the team that values him the most. And I think at some point he's going to realize there aren't a lot of other teams that value him at all.
Talking to John McMullen. John, any thoughts that Jameis Winston won't go number one to the Buccaneers, or is that pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered now after the Combine?
Yeah, there's only, two ways that it's not going to happen, and one is that something shows up on the shoulder in a medical test, and there is something significantly wrong with it, but, he went through some significant tests already, and he's been cleared, so I don't see that being an issue. And then the second is if he's dumb enough to do something again off the field, that could derail him. But as long as he keeps his nose clean between now and April 30th, he's going to be the number one overall selection. I think he should be. He's, a very high-level prospect at the quarterback position. And we all know that position is just valued more than others. I think Leonard Williams is the best player in the draft, but when you have a prospect at quarterback that's as good as Winston, it's very tough to pass over at number one, especially when you're in need of a quarterback.
Well, we see these quarterbacks who are going to be high draft picks. Well, we see guys who are playing baseball as well stop that because the arm motion is so much different from throwing a football, and we could see shoulder injuries start to appear. Will we see quarterbacks who are going to be NFL guys stop playing baseball if they're pitchers?
Well, I think it's smart, but some of these guys are high level at both and want to keep their options open. Jeff Samardzija, for instance, right, a number of years ago probably would have been a first-round pick in football and obviously went the baseball route, and he's a pretty good pitcher now. But as far as quarterbacks, if you're going to be number one, you got to give up baseball.
Yeah. Well, hey, John, thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on the BS Sports Show. Very much appreciated, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
What else you got worked on? What are you working on here for the near future? All right. One question too late. Well, hey, we still got more guests to get to. As a matter of fact, Pete DePremio is coming your way at about 7:45 on this BS Sports Show. News Sentinel, IU, and Purdue writer. Get some thoughts from him. Of course, there's also the battle of the two teams on top of the Big Ten going on tonight, Wisconsin and Maryland. And I don't know if anybody has a chance to knock off Wisconsin in the Big Ten.
Frank Kaminsky is so good.
Yeah, he's better.
Just so good. I bet Pete was a part of the court rushing there at IU a couple of years ago. I wonder what his thoughts will be on that.
You know what? I bet he's got some great insight. So that's coming up. But before that, we'll talk more about the storming of the court and other basketball news next. It's the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygagging ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big-ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big-ass savings.
I'd love some big-ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big-ass discount.
Big-ass discount.
A really big-ass discount.
Really big-ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big-ass problem.
Totally solves my big-ass problem.
Dad, look at that big-ass truck.
Big-ass man.
Hello, big-ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big gas savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls Night Out and Girls Night In and road trips and the scenic route and swimming and weekly car washes and making connections and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash And do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale Cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
It's the BS Sports Show.
It gives crappy people a chance to sort themselves out.
Welcome back. Spend some time with Pete Supremio on IU and Purdue coming up here in just a few minutes. Day 2 of the brand new and improved BS Sports Show. And Mo Time at Mo Radio Show, co-host with me at Billy Elvis. Find us on the Twitter. And find the show at thebssportshow.com with all the links to listen anywhere in the world. You may go where you have a computer. Storm in the court. See, I don't know. We should have asked John McMullen about storm in the court and whether he thinks it's an old thing that we're saying that it's wrong to storm the court.
Listen to us from running up the stairs. I don't know that I could storm a court anymore. I can barely make it up the damn stairs.
Well, at least we have an upstairs view out the Mo Radio Show studios. Yeah, a nice view out there.
We've got a flight of stairs to get down to use the bathroom and grab something to drink. And I don't know that we could storm the court.
You're right.
Up towards the top at Chrysler Arena and trying to get down there to storm the court. It would be tomorrow by the time I got there.
Were you one of those guys? Would you have been more apt to storm the court as they did in Kansas? Or would you be more apt to take off your shirt and put a letter on your chest for your favorite team with a bunch of students in sub-zero weather?
Neither.
Yeah, I'm not into the cold thing.
I'm not either. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, you guys are wusses there in Indiana. You got a dome stadium." You're damn right. That's how I like my football. 73 degrees every time.
Yeah.
I'm not a big, I'm not a big outdoors guy. When I went to the Super Bowl in 2006 and it rained the whole time, I was like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
This kind of sucks. I'm not a cold weather guy. I don't travel to see my team play if it's in cold weather. I go to Detroit to watch them play.
I used to have fun playing in bad weather. But you're right. You don't want to be a fan watching a game in bad weather. When the Comets went over to Toledo for the outdoor game on January 3rd, and it rained out on Saturday night, how miserable was it for those people that thought they were going to see an awesome experience, which ended up being okay the next day, some snow. But, to be rained on January 3rd in Toledo outdoors trying to watch a hockey game, it ruins the experience.
That's why I never understood the people who do the polar bear plunge like that. You don't have to do that.
Yeah, no thanks.
What's the point to jump into a dirty river on January 1st? And I don't get that. Now, to sit outside and see an NHL game, I might be willing to be cold for a little bit. But, like I go up to the Notre Dame games, and I'd sit in the press box all day long before sitting out there freezing. It was snowing and freezing cold this year when I went up there when they got beat by Northwestern. I'll take the press box all day long.
Yeah, I was at Michigan's last home game of one of the lost seasons a couple of years ago. I guess there's been a lot of lost seasons.
You have to be more specific,
recently. Please. But their last home game was against Northwestern, and forget the outcome of the game. It ended up being a pretty good game, but it rained, it snowed, rained again, snowed again. This is a miserable football experience. I spent $300 on the tickets, and I I looked at my friend and said, "Hey, let's go to the bar and watch the rest of this. Let's go where it's warm and our fingers. We could feel our fingers and toes, for crying out loud."
Being a Detroit sports fan, would you be less apt to go to more Detroit Lions games if they had an outdoor stadium?
Probably. I'd be one of those guys. I want to see the September games, then maybe the October games, but forget the November and December games. I guess I'd bundle up. You can wear the right clothes and get out there and enjoy it. But this goes back to the idiots who take their shirts off and spell out their favorite team's nickname on their chests, and it's like, what are you idiots doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to be that drunk, it's okay. I mean, maybe that's a problem. Is that I would at the time when I did drink, I would never make it past about the first quarter. So it was, I didn't really care. I went to the World Series a couple of years ago in Detroit and froze to death, and it wasn't that fun.
Yeah. Was that the Giants Tigers World Series?
I don't know. It's the one they lost. Well, that'd be most of them. I don't know. I got the hat. Let me look at the hat here. I can't remember.
You got to look at the hat to remember the game you were at.
I do. I can't remember what year it was. 2012.
That was the Giants. I think it snowed in Game 4, the decisive game. My uncle flew in, lifelong Detroit Tiger fan in his 70s. He flew in from Phoenix to catch Game 4 of that Tigers-Giants series and got snowed on. He was a most miserable man. I'm sure he wished he was watching it in his flip-flops and shorts out in the sunny desert of Arizona as opposed to going to Game 4 in Detroit for that mess.
Or going to like the early season games in Chicago when the wind's whooping off the lake in April, and it's just miserable. There's nothing fun about it. And I don't know how people enjoy it, to each their own, but I'm not one of those guys who can do that.
Yeah, I'm with you. But maybe that's part of the problem with attendance at some of the NFL games. I know that when we had the situation a couple of years ago, and they had to they had to extend, if you will, the period before they could have a blackout of a game with 3 of the 4 playoff teams last year.
I know, right?
3 of the 4 playoff teams, and a couple of them played one of them was the Colts. They played indoors.
Yeah, it was the Colts, and it was Cincinnati, and I believe Meyer had to come through and buy the rest of the tickets, so it wasn't blacked out. And that's the thing, and that brings up a whole other issue to it. But taking my family to an NFL game anymore isn't really feasible because you either the cost is outrageous, but people they get so out of hand. It seems like at NFL games more than anything, even more than baseball. They get so out of hand at NFL games that it's not worth the money to pay for that experience. I'd rather sit at home with them, with the kids. If I'm going to go by myself to cover it or with a couple of buddies, but just take my kids to an NFL game. I'm paying $125, so an 11-year-old can get in and then have to listen to all that and have beer spill on it. It's not worth it.
It's such a different experience. Go to a Major League Baseball game.
Right.
Go to an NFL game. Go to an NBA game or go to an NHL game, and you'll see different crowds at all 4 sports. It's amazing the demographics for each of the 4 sports and how they act and what they do.
Yeah, you're right. And the Pacers do such a good job there at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. We've never had an issue once. And we had an unruly guy behind us before. And before, we turned back around and he's gone. Security already snatched him out of there. I mean, you're right. It's such a different crowd. The NFL crowd is so out of control. Well, and you look at basketball though, and baseball. There's not a lot of tailgating. It's not a big tailgating sport.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of it leads into. And will the NFL? That's just one of the issues that they have. Will they crack down on how much and how drunk you can be before you can come into a game? At some point, do they pull out the breathalyzers? And if you're too wasted, are they not going to let you in?
Real quick side note before we get a break in and switch to Pete DePremio from the News Sentinel about IU and Purdue and getting updated on those 2 teams. Did you see Urban Meyer's trapped at sea on a cruise, on a Buckeye cruise?
How happy does that make you?
Has that been perpetrated by the SEC, by the University of Michigan? Who's perpetrated this Urban Meyer and the Buckeye fans out at sea?
Well, I believe that Michigan has called in all their favors this year, getting Jim Harbaugh. I don't know that they did that, but I saw that earlier today, and I just thought, man, I wonder how happy Billy is right now. The fact that Urban Meyer's lost at sea. Not lost, I guess, but stuck in sea because of the fog.
Yeah, I just found it somewhat amusing. Not everything goes well for Mr. Urban Meyer, apparently.
Well, his quarterbacks don't do so well in the NFL, so not everything. That and the fact that they're lost at sea. Do you think that they could pull that off, the fog, until November of next year?
Yeah, let's see how long they can keep them out. At least miss some spring practices. How's that?
What's going to be more of a hassle, getting back to land for Urban Meyer, or figuring out who's going to be your starting quarterback next year?
I just hope he gets some sort of wicked case of Montezuma's revenge from the food going sour on the ship, but I guess that's kind of mean.
I think they prepared for that now. After a couple of years ago, when people got stuck, there were people wanting to jump off those ships because the toilets were backing up, and once you gamble away most of your money in the casino there on the ship, it's kind of a boring next 5 days. Not that I've done that. Okay, that I've done that. It's a really long next couple of days when you have no money left.
Yeah, think about that. No money left and no toilets. That just makes the cruise experience so horrible, so quick.
Now, the college kids are like, damn, that sounds like a good time. Sounds like a frat house.
All these people peeing over the railing of the big ship.
And you're not allowed to do that, believe it or not. They frown on that.
Yeah, I know. I found out.
Well, at least I'm not the only one. I was on my honeymoon. My wife was like, what in the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm peeing. She goes, you have to go into the bathroom. You can't do that. I'm like, it's the water. The fish pee here. How is that not okay? Evidently, fish have different pee than we have. Like, she wouldn't go in the water either because, the fish pee in there. I can't go in the water.
Not to mention, no matter which deck you're on, you could be peeing into somebody's balcony below, or a dining room, or the smoke room, or whatever the case may be, the casino. I'm
not gonna lie to you. We went on a budget. There wasn't a second or third deck. There's two kind of homeless looking dudes in a fishing boat, but hey, it was a good time nonetheless.
You were peeing over the side of a rowboat, huh, Alice?
It wouldn't be the first time. It's hard to squat and pee over the side of a rowboat, but I did it.
I don't know how we got from crowd storming to peeing off cruise ships.
You talked about Urban Meyer, that's how.
Yeah, I had to bring up Mr. Meyer. All right, time for a break. We're going to get Pete DePremio on. He's a writer for the News Sentinel here in Fort Wayne, covering IU and Purdue. So some college basketball, Big Ten basketball talk next on the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygagging ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big ass savings.
I'd love some big ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big ass discount.
Big ass discount.
A really big ass discount.
Really big ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big ass problem.
Totally solves my big ass problem.
Dad, look at that big ass truck.
He's big ass man.
Hello, big ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big gas savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls Night Out and Girls Night In and road trips and the scenic route and swimming and weekly car washes and making connections and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash, and do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale Cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips, and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
This is a bad show. They worked really hard, and it didn't make it good. It's the BS Sports Show.
And we're back as we approach hour number 2, day number 2 of the newly revamped BS Sports Show. I'm at Billy Elvis. He's at Mo Radio Show. Mo Time, my co-host now on the BS Sports Show. And a friend of the BS Sports Show who went through a period of sadness when we left terrestrial radio, but now is so happy that we're back. He is on with us right now from the News Sentinel, the one, the only, Pete DePremio. Pete, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey guys, I am well. Glad that you returned to the radio waves, the airwaves, the digital waves, all the waves. So I'm doing well. I hope you guys are too.
You know, I'm going to be disappointed if I don't hear from Rocky at some point during this conversation. I got to tell you, Pete, I've missed Rocky as much as I've missed you, pal.
Well, that's good to know. Right now he's sitting looking outside at the world, and if something stirs him up, he will let all of us know.
What a good dog. You're a good dog, Rocky, if you can hear me. Pete, we were talking about, we started the show talking about the storming of the court in Manhattan, Kansas, and it seems like every time something like that happens, it almost gets worse. It almost gets more violent, more opportunity for injury, whether it's players, coaches, officials, whatever. And I don't know it's a phenomenon that's going to go away anytime soon because it's largely tolerated. We brought up the situation in Bloomington a couple of years ago, Tom Crean era, when he had all the superstars in the making, the Zellers and the Oladipos, and they knock off number 1 Kansas, and you'd have thought it was a national championship victory with the way the storming of the court went. Did you feel, being there in attendance in Bloomington, that your well-being was in jeopardy when the storming occurred?
No, I didn't, and they stormed kind of around me and all over the court. At no time did I feel a sense of danger. It was controlled. When I say controlled, the students weren't, psycho as they're running out of the stands. I don't think anybody was hurt. I know there was like a Kentucky cheerleader, a former cheerleader, or somebody may have hurt an ankle a little bit, but there's no coaches were hurt, no players were hurt. At the same time, when thousands of students or thousands of human beings elect to storm a court, it's really hard to stop that. And you're going to need some stern warnings, which doesn't always help. You're going to need some police presence, maybe large, angry-looking men. It would help a little bit, but it's a very what happened to Kansas State was unfortunate, and I know there's a lot of conversation about that and what they can do to make that better. And one of the easiest ways is if you win enough, then students don't storm the court because they're used to winning. But that didn't happen to Kansas State, Kansas last night. That's for sure.
Doesn't it say to you, though, almost like your students and your fans didn't believe you were going to win if you had to storm the court? I mean, this happened last year. They knocked off Kansas. Is it become a point of, hey, just any regular game, let's storm the court? It seems like, it should be a bigger game. Like, I would understand if IPFW knocked off a Big Ten team. There might be reason to storm the court, but was this just a ridiculous, game? It happened last year. To do this in Manhattan, Kansas last night? It's human nature. People get excited. Students look for reasons to celebrate. I know when IU went to the Final Four in 2002, students kind of stormed downtown Bloomington and did all sorts of stupid stuff. So sometimes students just look for reasons to do dumb stuff. But having said that, you have to be smart. You have to show some control. The Kansas State officials, and they released a statement today that they're going to take a look at what they can do to curb this. Yes, it can get excessive, and is it becoming more prevalent now? I mean, it's gone on since the dawn of time. I don't know that it's happened any more than it has in the past, but it certainly needs to be addressed. And the one thing that would make it be key, if somebody gets hurt, be it a coach, a player, or a student, then that would have major ramifications. But right now, people have been lucky, and nobody's really been seriously hurt. Well, obviously, with them not selling alcohol during the games, you ask the students, or you basically, they drink a lot very quickly before the game. Will there ever be a point where schools look at maybe serving alcohol to try to curb all the binge drinking before a game?
Yeah, no, though a lot of universities, I'm not sure how much alcohol they sell. Like IU doesn't sell alcohol. They don't sell alcohol. Purdue doesn't really sell alcohol except maybe in isolated locations. Most of the time, you don't really have any alcohol-related things. That's more of a pro sport thing. But certainly, if a university is selling alcohol and you have these things, then it needs to be controlled. But a lot of these are students, and I'm not sure that they're selling alcohol to the students, though I am positive that students can find ways to get at the alcohol without it being, officially sold at the university. But regardless, if alcohol is an issue, if there is alcohol involved, then that needs to be, controlled. But they really need to get a handle on making, some stern announcements, getting enough security there to really discourage people from storming the court.
Yeah, it just seems like it's getting worse and worse and more, violent and one-upsmanship going on with each of these campuses every time a court storming occurs. And I hope they don't wait till somebody gets hurt badly before they do something about it. And, I sound like my dad or my grandpa here right now, but you know what? This is not what sports is about, where there's a chance of some great violence at the end.
Oh, absolutely. It's not what should happen, but again, it's human nature, and it's human nature with students. They look for reasons to celebrate, and when they haven't had a lot of success, that's what they do. They storm basketball courts, they storm football fields, they tear down goalposts. I remember one time Ohio State fans tried to tear down, and maybe they might have been successful in tearing down Memorial Stadium goalposts when Ohio State, I think, clinched the Big Ten title. This is I think it was in the 90s or something like that. So fans will be fans. And it needs to be reined in. Whether it's any worse now than it was before, I don't know. But like you mentioned, you don't want somebody to get hurt before they really crack down on it.
And before we get to tonight's battle in the Big Ten with the ranked teams and an 11-point lead at the half for Maryland at home against Wisconsin, IU and Purdue both have very winnable games this week. And want to keep the momentum going here towards the Big Ten tournament time. IU at Northwestern tomorrow night, and then Thursday night, a late game for Purdue and Rutgers. And as I said, very winnable games for both of these teams, right, Pete?
Oh, yeah, definitely not. Now, Indiana has a little more of a challenge because Northwestern, although has a 4-10 Big Ten record, and they struggle, but they've won 3 in a row. They're playing better offense and playing better defense. So that's more of a challenge, whereas Purdue is hosting a Rutgers team that's lost 11 in a row, just got hammered by 30 by Indiana a couple of days ago. So Purdue has an easier game, but both are winnable, and really both need to win to really stay in the hunt for the NCAA. Purdue more so than Indiana. Purdue cannot lose this game. If they lose this game, they're pretty much done, I would think, in the NCAA tournament, other than winning the Big Ten tournament title and getting the automatic bid.
What does this do for Matt Painter and his security at Purdue? Should Purdue not make the NCAA tournament again this year? What happens at Purdue? Do they stand pat with Matt Painter another year with the recruiting classes he's had, or is he showing the door?
No. He's fine. I mean, he's fine now. If they had finished with a losing record, 3 straight losing records, life could have gotten more complicated. But they're fine. They're playing really well. If they finish strong, I mean, they could finish second in the Big Ten, or at least tied for second in the Big Ten. So I think he's fine now. I don't think that's an issue. But the way Purdue has played the last month or so has really been impressive. Winning at Indiana, winning some of the games they've won, playing very solid defense. So it's been impressive.
Yeah. Well, we do have that game going on tonight, although the Badgers, 6-point favorites on the road, and they've been a really good road. They've just been a really good team in Madison or on the road. But they're down by 11 to Maryland, a team that was picked, 8th in the Big Ten in the preseason. So Maryland is continuing to flex its muscles in Big Ten play.
Yeah, I mean, Maryland has played well all year long. They've had a few glitches. They almost lost to Northwestern for one, but they are playing very solid tonight. And one thing, Wisconsin has played the Big Ten's easiest schedule to date. That'll change a little bit. So they haven't really been tested all that much in the Big Ten. And this is a severe test. And right now, it's 31-20 or whatever it is. And Maryland is playing extremely well. We'll see if Wisconsin can pull this out. And they're they're not at full strength. Jackson is not available, and maybe he will be by the Big Ten tournament, maybe. But Wisconsin is really good, and there's a reason why they went to the Final Four last year and basically have everybody back. So I would imagine they're going to make a strong push in the second half here to close this gap, if not win it.
Who can match up good in the Big Ten with Frank Kaminsky? I mean, this guy is just a monster. Who in the Big Ten matches up best with Wisconsin, and particularly Frank Kaminsky?
Well, I don't with Kaminsky because he can go to the outside, hit the three, as well as take it inside. If he goes inside, Purdue has a couple of 7-footers that they can handle him inside, but once he goes outside, life is more complicated. So he is a extremely difficult matchup. All you can do is kind of make him shoot over top of you from the outside or even from the inside, and go from there. But when he's clicking, when he's moving, it's just tough to stop him. So I don't think there's a player in the Big Ten who matches up with Kaminsky, which is probably why he will be the Big Ten MVP.
All right. Always a pleasure, Pete DePrimo. I even got to hear a little bit of Rocky during this conversation. That's awesome. You must have saw a squirrel or something out there.
Well, he saw something, and he's getting a little excited. He's actually leaping at the TV now as Wisconsin-Maryland getting ready to start again. So he's an active dog.
He's looking forward to the second half. Attaboy, Rocky. All right, Pete. At P, the letter P, DiPrimo, DiPrimio on Twitter, News Sentinel writer covering IU and Purdue. What you working on for the Sentinel these days, Pete? What's coming out soon from you?
Well, tomorrow is going to be a preview on Indiana Northwestern, and then the next day, on Thursday, I've got a feature on A.J. Hammonds from Purdue, who has played extremely well the last month. He's playing like the guy who will be playing in the NBA someday. So he's really turned it around. And he got a little tongue lashing from Matt Painter after they lost to Illinois, and then he's responded. And he's done what he's needed to do. So those are the two main things I'm working on right now.
Assuming IU and Purdue both make the big dance, which one would you be more surprised making the Sweet 16 or farther, Purdue or IU?
I'm not sure that either. Rocky may be singing here for you in a second.
I hear Rocky.
If you hear that in the background, he's now singing. He sort of has a squeaky toy that he squeaks and then sings like a tuner. So that's what's in the background. But I don't know that either Indiana or Purdue are a Sweet 16 team. Indiana just isn't quite big enough. They've got some issues there. However, if they're hitting from three, they could beat anybody. And Purdue, on the other hand, they don't shoot well enough from the outside. And so if Purdue would ever get its outside shooting in sync with that inside game, they could potentially be a Sweet 16 team. But I'm not sure that that's in the future for either one of these teams. But first they both have to get into the NCAA tournament, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Pete, always a pleasure, man. We'll talk again soon. Take care of our boy Rocky, and thanks for being a part of the BS Sports Show tonight, Pete.
Okay, guys. Thanks. Glad you're back.
Thank you. Not as glad as we are. And we're at about the midway point of this second edition of the BS Sports Show. And he's at Mo Radio Show. I'm at Billy Elvis. Teaming up to give you a show each and every day of the work week from 7 to 9 p.m. It's going to be a little tricky tomorrow with me having to do Fort Wayne Comets duty at the Coliseum tomorrow night.
You said duty.
Duty. I said duty. But we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll be on the phone. Maybe you'll be in the studio.
It's fun because now you get to grow with us again, just as people did before with you and Stiller when you guys started, and now they get to grow with us as we move on to the future, trying to figure these things out. That now that we're doing it on our own and don't have the big budgets behind us. I couldn't say it with a straight. I tried to say it with a straight face. I couldn't do it.
Stick around. Hour number 2 is next. It includes a conversation with IPFW men's basketball coach John Kaufman. All on the way on the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygag, it ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big-ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big-ass savings.
I'd love some big-ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big-ass discount.
Big-ass discount.
A really big-ass discount.
Really big-ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big-ass problem.
Totally solves my big-ass problem.
Dad, look at that big-ass truck.
And big-ass man.
Hello, big-ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big gas savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls' Night Out and Girls' Night In and road trips and the scenic route and swimming and weekly car washes and making connections and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash, and do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale Cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, it's the BS Sports Show.
It gives crappy people a chance to sort themselves out.
Well, what do you know? Hour number 2. It just goes so fast when you're having so much fun in Mo Time's own personal home studio, as we are tonight. BS Sports Show debuted last night with the new partnership confirmed and solidified with Mo Time from that Mo Radio Show and me at Billy Elvis. Had a great time at Wrigley Field Bar and Grill. And here we are in hour number 2 of show number 2. And coming up at 8:15, we'll talk to head coach of IPFW men's basketball team, John Kaufman. I think he's got to be pretty happy with how his team has rebounded from the early part of the season when they were racking up too many losses and injuries were becoming a problem. But we'll get John Kaufman's thoughts at about 8:15 on that.
Well, plus, you come in as a first-year head coach after the most successful season in school history last year. That's not an easy gig. I talked with Gary Graham last night, the comms coach, after we were off the air or we were in a commercial break, and I said, what's it like, having to come in and follow a guy like Al Sims? That's not an easy task, and then they had some issues at the beginning of the year, and, we had to make tough decisions and get the selfish guys out of here, but it's not an easy task.
No.
People, wishing for the old guy back, and, John Kaufman, Gary Graham both have done amazing jobs following, guys who have been very successful at the jobs they do.
Yeah. All right, so stick around. IPFW head coach John Kaufman at 8:15. NBA action tipping off here any second now. The Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder. And former Pacer DJ Augustine, now member of that Thunder team, as is Kyle Singler, part of that trade that sent Reggie Miller to Detroit, 3-team trade. Matter of fact, quite the flurry of trade deadline moves in the NBA. It was the most active trade deadline in quite some time in the NBA. A lot of teams got a lot of help in a lot of different areas.
Right. I like the fact, though, that a team like Golden State didn't make the same mistake the Pacers made last year and didn't move anybody or send anybody and didn't mess up that team chemistry.
Yeah.
I think that really hurt the Pacers last year. Whether or not Danny Granger was contributing 8 points a game, But when you've got a guy who's been a leader in that locker room for so many years as he had and went through all the bad times the Pacers had, the team fell apart. Whether it was something else or not, I think that had a lot to do with it. You brought in a couple of guys, one who's still there in LaVoy Allen, but a selfish guy in Evan Turner, and that team just, it had all the makings of a championship team, and it fell apart. So it was good to see that a team like Golden State didn't go tinkering too much. Now,
speaking of Golden State, real quick, some love from my buddy D.C. Hendricks, who worked me really hard for tickets to see his beloved Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry take on the Pacers at the Fieldhouse on Sunday. Well, that just so happens to be the game that Steph Curry sat out with an ankle issue, and it's the only game he sat out because he's back in action tonight for the Warriors. So
I felt so bad for him too. I wanted to say something, but it's like what do you say? It's like going to a funeral. Like, what do you say that makes it feel better? I didn't know what to say to him. I was like, oh, that poor bastard.
Hey, you know what? Maybe he got to see Steph Curry in nice dress clothes sitting behind the bench, and that was good enough for him. I don't know. And maybe that's why the Pacers got the win, because no Steph Curry at the Fieldhouse.
And that's the thing, is you see them Pacers fans start bragging on Twitter, and that's fine. You beat the Warriors, but beat the Warriors at full strength, and let's talk. And I'm a Pacers fan, but it just makes you realize too how great Klay Thompson is. Man, oh man, is that kid good? I got into an argument with one of my NBA insiders, Jim Breyers from the Sports Network, all summer long that I wouldn't trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love, and he's like, "Oh, you're an idiot," which I am. I mean, let's not get anything wrong. I am an idiot, but this kid is just absolutely amazing. He's unselfish. He's a team guy. And I think it's honestly the Warriors to lose right now. I know a lot of people love the Cavs and all the moves they've made, and they're not beating up on Detroit. They're up on Detroit 32-27 right now in the second quarter. It's weird to have games going on now during the show.
Yeah, I know.
It used to being done before the game starts.
I like this.
I do too. It's definitely a lot more fun. We're going to have to get some televisions installed up here so we can watch all the games. No, it's it's a lot more exciting NBA season. There was a lot of movement, like you said, Reggie Jackson being moved out of Oklahoma City, and I think that Durant and Westbrook both had tired of him a little bit. His antics. And Westbrook has picked up the slack big time with KD being out. Man, oh man, is Oklahoma City going to have a tough time when it comes to re-signing both of those kids.
It's tough to get that good sixth man to stay in Oklahoma City because Reggie Jackson was doing a good job as the first man off the bench, and we know about James Harden's role a few years ago when they got all the way to the NBA Finals. And lost to the Heat, but nevertheless got all the way to the NBA Finals, and James Harden wasn't content being the first guy off the bench in OKC. Maybe it's tough. Maybe it's tough to play behind Durant and Westbrook.
Well, let me ask you this now. Knowing who James Harden right now to me is probably the MVP of the league, but who do you move one of the other guys now? If you can go back in hindsight, do you keep Harden and move Westbrook or move Durant?
I don't know. No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. You want to try to keep Harden at all costs. He's not as expendable as you think because you have Westbrook and Durant. But I think in hindsight, you say to yourself, maybe we should have done a little bit more work at trying to keep James Harden here in OKC.
Is it possible they didn't know? I mean, you got a guy who's not playing full-time minutes. Maybe you just don't know. Yeah. You're going to have to pony up a lot of money to keep him. Do you keep him over Serge Ibaka, who might be gone after this year, who's done a lot protecting the rim there? It's a tough call to make. Well, I'm glad I'm not doing the job.
Let me give you the perspective from a Detroit Pistons fan who acquired Reggie Jackson. Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, but if he's not willing to accept his role as being sixth man in OKC when you got guys like Durant and Westbrook,
right.
Then I worry about your attitude.
Right.
Not
sure.
Everybody can be or you don't have to be a starter to make a huge impact on your team. To me, it's kind of shatters the team aspect of it. I get it. These guys all have egos, and they all want to be the star. But, I mean, come on, Reggie Jackson. You're on a team with Westbrook and Durant, and you're asked to be the sixth man off the bench. Do your role. Show us you can do that. Don't whine your way out of OKC. That kind of worries me as a Pistons fan that's the kind of guy we've acquired.
Right, and you're not even a guy who was a superstar like Vince Carter, who has accepted being the sixth man in Memphis and in Dallas. Or and you're not even a guy who had a career like Allen Iverson, who could complain about being a sixth man and didn't want to do it, and he decided to say, sayonara, I'm not going to be a sixth man. But when you're a guy who hasn't been in the league very long, you're right. It would concern me very much to have him come along, just like last year when the Pacers traded for Evan Turner. I was extremely concerned because he had free reign in Philadelphia to do whatever he wanted because they weren't going anywhere and they were trying to lose. And when you're trying to have that bad of a record, and this guy's just firing up shots, and now you want to bring him to to this team just because you want to move Danny Granger because you're not going to get anything for him? I'm sorry. It was a big mistake.
So you think the Pacers shouldn't even try to fight their way into the playoffs this year?
I'm so torn, and I hate tanking. I mean, I hate it more than anything. But do the Pacers have a team that can contend for an NBA title? I don't think so. I don't think they can get out of the East. I mean, let's be honest. But it shows a lot of fight for that team. I mean, they've had a lot of issues this year. David West missed a lot of time. George Hill's missed a lot of time. Obviously, the issues with Paul George, and the fact that he's trying to come back this year, I think sets them up for success next year. You look at a guy who can get, as we talked about during the break, all the Derrick Roses out of him. You can get it back and see what it's like to put the weight on there to get hit again. I'm not going to be sad if they make it. I'm not going to be sad if they don't make it.
Yeah. There's positives to both. I think there's a lot of positives to them making the playoffs. See Paul George return, and he's set to start practicing with the guys in a couple weeks or less, and make a decent run. Get some more experience. Playoffs are different than the regular season. It's a different vibe. It's a different modus operandi as far as how you attack. You're seeing an opponent more than once in a row, unlike the regular season, and there's some chess match involved in the playoffs. And I think the more experience you can get, the better off you are going to be for the following year. So, I guess if they can get in the lottery, if they can really tank it the rest of this year and get in the lottery, they're going to get a difference maker. But they can get a difference maker as well, even if they make the playoffs still, and get more playoff experience. Yeah, they'll be pounded by somebody like Cleveland or Chicago or even Washington or Toronto or Atlanta in the playoffs, but so what? You're getting more playoff experience for some of the young guys.
Yeah, I mean, you take the Plumlee draft out of there. The Pacers have done very well drafting between 12 and 18. They draft that position very well. Paul George, Danny Granger, Solomon Hill started to come on into his own this year. And this is what it took. If you remember, it was Danny Granger getting injured for the Pacers to realize what they really had in Paul George and a guy like Lance Stevenson. So, and if you look at Frank Vogel as well, I think that he's done one of his best coaching jobs this year. You got Rodney Stuckey as a starter at times. You've got a lot of lineups that coaches had to play with, and I think that he's done one of his better jobs, and I think it's helped him overall as well.
Think about this. Frank Vogel's got a chance, I think, tonight, if he gets the win, as being the coach with the most wins with the Pacers in the NBA era. Yeah. Not the ABA, just the NBA era. But, guys like Larry Brown and Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas and all the coaches they've had, and Frank Vogel's already set to eclipse them for the most wins as the Pacers coach in the NBA era of the Pacers. Well,
Larry didn't stick around very long.
No. And Isaiah screwed the pooch a little bit there, too.
Yeah, at the end. And you bring in a guy like Jim O'Brien, who was Larry Bird's buddy, and that didn't go over well. And, but if you look at it now, it worked out because I think the guy who's supposed to be the coach of the Indiana Pacers is there right now. And Frank Vogel getting that job was because Jim O'Brien was so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And what could wind up happening is it looks like, I heard Charles Barkley say the other day that the Denver Nuggets have pretty much given up on Brian Shaw. The team has quit on him. And, should Brian Shaw lose his job, and I don't wish that on anybody, but can you imagine reuniting Brian Shaw again with those Pacers? That was Paul George's guy right there was Brian Shaw. Imagine if he comes back with that coaching staff. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then there are guys like Larry Brown who went on to other teams and got a championship. Larry the Pistons and oh man, why am I spacing the cat's name that went to Dallas and got a championship?
Carlisle.
Yeah, Carlisle.
Who was the Pacers head coach as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He spent some time. Rick Carlisle and Larry Brown spent some time as Pacers coach, but went elsewhere to get their NBA championships as coach. And Larry Bird does have the distinction of taking the Pacers to their only NBA finals.
Right. Well, and you look at it too. He's one of the few guys that has won Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year, and was the MVP as well. I mean, they've got a very good nucleus down there. They've got a good group together, and it's a great place to watch a basketball game. I mean, you really can't go wrong going to a Pacers game. And if you look at the job, you mentioned Larry Brown. Look at that team that he took and won a championship with.
Right.
You took an older Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince. I mean, you had guys there that nobody really considered a championship caliber, frontline NBA All-Star type caliber team, and it amazes me sometimes. You look at some of the coaching jobs these guys do in the NBA with a team like that had no business, let's be honest, being there probably, but came in there and took the championship away. And kudos to that team and to Larry Brown, the job he did that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust me, I'm a Pistons fan, so I enjoyed it thoroughly.
So when you look back at Joe Dumars, quickly before we go to break, when you look back at Joe Dumars, Do you look back, try to think of the players' years when it was good, or do you try to think back of all the bad contracts and trades?
No, you know what? He got off to such a good start. He built that championship team, got Larry Brown in there to coach the team. Detroit had Rick Carlisle, too, for a while. I wasn't so crazy about that, losing Rick Carlisle, because I thought he was going to be a great coach. But bringing in Larry Brown, knowing that you had these veterans and this team of players, I think Joe Dumars did a lot of things right. I think the beginning of the end for Joe Dumars was the Darko Milicic draft.
Well, that, and you look at the Charlie Villanueva huge contract, the Ben Gordon huge. It's like he got Matt Millen disease.
Yeah, somehow, some way. But, I mean, he got off to such a great start after that, and then after the championship year, it got tough for him. But at any rate, just a few thoughts on the Pacers, their efforts to make the playoffs. If they do, the positives. If they don't, the positives. As a matter of fact, friend of the show, Chris Denary, Pacers play-by-play announcer for Fox Sports Indiana, is going to join us on this BS Sports Show later this week. It's the brand new revamped BS Sports Show, heard on the BSSportsShow.com website. Links to all the different apps to listen to the show. Also, the first hour from 7 to 8 on IndianaTalks.com as well. Up next, we're going to talk to John Kaufman, IPFW men's basketball coach. And if you want to call in on the show, you can do it by dialing 347-324-5252. Jot this down, 347-324-5252, or you can text us at 260-245-1898. That's 260-245-1898. Back in just a couple minutes in this final hour of the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygag, it ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big ass savings.
I'd love some big ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big ass discount.
Big ass discount.
A really big ass discount.
Really big ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big ass problem.
Totally solves my big ass problem.
Dad, look at that big ass truck.
Big ass man.
Hello, big ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big ass savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls' Night Out, and Girls' Night In, and road trips, and the scenic route, and swimming, and weekly car washes, and making connections, and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash, and do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale Cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
more than just a show. It's life itself. It is everything.
It's the BS Sports Show.
Hey, welcome back. I'm at Billy Elvis. He's at Mo Radio Show. Mo Time and Billy Elvis, day 2 of the newly revamped BS Sports Show. Friend of the show on the line with us right now, head coach of the IPFW men's basketball team, John Kaufman. Thanks for joining us on the newly revamped BS Sports Show, buddy.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate you having me.
I've missed you, man. I've really missed you. I've missed you.
Hey, I appreciate you coming out. What was that, about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think I saw your team's best effort.
Was that North Dakota State? Was that North Dakota State win?
I think it was. Yeah. I had a great time. You guys played great. It was fun to watch. And although your string came to an end at North Dakota State this past weekend, your string of victories, road victories, overall victories, I'm thinking you feel pretty good right now about your team and how they're playing.
Yeah, I do feel good about their playing, but at the end of the day, we had a great opportunity on Saturday at North Dakota State. I mean, 2 teams both playing really well, and we're a possession or 2 away there, and I'm disappointed for the guys. But sometimes there's some value in a loss shortly before you go into the tournament, kind of get some things straight, get your minds right. And, I'm looking forward to this weekend, last 2 home games, last 2 games of the year before we head into the tournament.
Yeah, back home again. It seems like you guys have been away for quite a while, but back home again here for your next ball game. Coach, the win streak helped solidify you and your hopes and prove to your team that you guys can compete with anybody on any night in any building in the Summit League. But what, in your mind, is it that the team still needs to work on a little bit to just be that much more ready come tournament time?
I don't think my team is that much different than anybody else in terms of just consistency. We've shown that we can do things at a high level and then just producing at a consistent level. If we can consistently shoot from the perimeter well, if we can consistently defend, take care of the details on that, and if we can consistently rebound the basketball, we've shown that there's not necessarily an area that this team has a great weakness in, other than just doing it on every night. And there's such small margins between winning and losing in our league this year that you just got to make sure you're taking care of those details every night and every possession.
Talking with Coach John Kaufman, head men's basketball coach at IPFW. After taking over for Coach Jasic last year, after having one of the most successful seasons in IPFW basketball history, has there been one thing this year that maybe you weren't expecting that has hit you harder, or that has been harder to deal with, or is something that was unexpected that you weren't planning on dealing with as the men's basketball coach taking over for Coach Jasic?
I don't know if there's one thing, and I mean, that necessarily stands out. I mean, you obviously have you got decisions, every day that depending on you. I used to love walking into Tony's office and I'd be like, "Hey Tony, we got an issue. Here are the 2 things that we're running into. Here's the 2 options to do it. I like A, but do whatever you want, brother." And it's a little different because now my assistants are coming and dropping that in my lap, and I got to make those decisions.
Head man in charge-itis going on a little bit there with John Kaufman. Well, John, obviously you got to look at things in the big picture realm, if you will. And the adversity that you had earlier in this season, Big Steve Forbes' injury, not the least of which was those problems earlier on when you were losing some games.
Right.
Now winning games again. Having gone through that adversity is something you guys can use as motivation to keep it going and to keep working hard, isn't it?
Well, and I don't know I think there's some motivation part in there, but I mean, this team never lost any motivation. I think what it's done is it's kept us kind of in the present. Now it's all that. It's easy to talk about, hey, let's lock in on next game mentality. Let's worry about getting better today, focusing on Omaha on Thursday. Well, as you grow, you kind of learn that, and it took some of those struggles. Hey, we're not worried about February and March. Like, we're worried about now. We're worried about getting better now. We'll figure out February and March as we get there. We'll eventually be better by focusing in on that. The other part is this team figured out, we identified 3, 4, 5 things, and more big picture things. Toughness, leadership, taking care of details. We identified things that were keeping us, from those small margins from winning. And so we reference those points throughout. It may be in the middle of a game. We'll reference a similar situation that didn't turn out the way we wanted it. Or, hey, remember, like, it's all about being coachable. It's all about inspiring your teammate. It's all about taking care of the details. And the guys remember what it felt like when, you had a couple losses in a row, and they don't want to do that. This is a group of winners. I mean, they're used to winning. They won last year. They won the year before. And so, they've been able to grow from that. And I think ultimately, although I didn't necessarily like, the beginning part of January, I think this team's grown a lot from that.
Coach, for fans or students who follow the team and take every loss hard, explain to people maybe who don't know what it's like for you on a daily or weekly basis. Obviously, not just getting this team ready for the next game, making sure all the guys are going to class and doing that, but you also have to hit the recruiting trail as well as you look toward next season already. What's a week like for you, not only just dealing with this team, but dealing with everything that goes into not only now but next season?
That's kind of the excitement about this job is no week is the same. I was looking backwards, I had gotten some grade reports, and I'm like, okay, some guys had missed some classes here. I was double checking on, okay, were those days we were on the road, or were these guys that missed a class? And and I was happy to see there were guys that missed a class because we were on the road. And I looked at the travel schedule, and we've literally missed 1 to 5 days being in Fort Wayne for the last 6 weeks. Like, that's a lot of missed days, and there's a lot of fun being on the road, from being a player to being a coach. Like, there's excitement about traveling. I mean, we're in Denver last week. We're in North Dakota. More fun in Denver than North Dakota, but there's excitement to that. But every week's different. We're trying to, our staff is hitting the road at ball games. We got 3 guys out tonight seeing high school games, 1 seeing a junior college game. Whenever I'm trying to see 2 to 3 games a week of guys that we're recruiting. And I have 2 great kids. My wife is a college coach as well. We try and spend time after work when we come home. I spend time with the kids, when get home, and then I'm hitting the video again. That's the thing that people don't recognize, all the preparation that goes into a game. So you're looking at, from 8:30 till midnight most nights, watching video, calling recruits, watching video of future recruits. Or maybe you're hitting the road. And I tell you, I don't feel that old until I'm driving back from Chicago, where you lose the hour after a high school game, and you roll in at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I realize I got to get little Tommy to St. Vincent's by 7:45, or they're going to be climbing all over me. So no, that's what's great about it. I mean, no day is the same, and it's like anybody who's dealing with people. That's the part that's really exciting about my job. It'll drive you crazy sometimes dealing with 17 to 22-year-olds. Because you never know really what they're thinking, and but at the end of the day, like, you're trying to get them all to be on the same page, and that's what's fun about it. Trying to come up with dealing with the mental side of the game and coaching them up and getting them to perform at their highest level.
All right, now we're going to touch upon the lighter side of Coach John Kaufman, IPFW men's basketball coach.
I'm much better at that side, Billy.
Coach, what's your go-to? You got little kids. You got to make up your own language, obviously, at times with little kids around. What's your go-to made-up word when something doesn't go right during the course of a game? You got one? You got a go-to word? Is it fudge? Is it something like that?
I wish I could say that. Well, I got to be careful though. There might be some St. Vincent teachers listening right now, and my son comes in and he uses that word, and they know what he really means. You're trying to get me in trouble now.
No more this tomfoolery here, Billy.
I don't have one, but I do let the occasional word slip out, but I'm pretty good at coming up with a word or sentence that uses it in a different context or throws a different letter at the end, to where I dupe them a little bit. But they're only 6-3 right now. They've probably already figured it out, but they haven't let on that they have yet.
That's awesome.
Coach John Kaufman, IPFW men's basketball coach. Have you ever been part of a losing team when the court has been stormed by the home fans? Did that situation happen to you like it happened to Kansas coach Bill Self last night?
You know, not to that level, but yeah, I've been on courts, you know, where you've had a storming of fans, and I mean we saw it a little bit last year in the championship game, you know, where you know the North Dakota State people you know stormed the court after the game. You know, if you're asking my opinion on it, I mean I've never been in the midst of a dangerous situation. And you know, I mean, there's the excitement about the game. I mean, you know, that's you know the fact that there are fans and excited about it, I mean, that's what you know, that's what pays my salary. The fact that people care. So there's value in that. You know, there's value that people appreciate what their team is doing for them and are excited about it. I mean, that's all great, but you know, when it gets to difficult situations like that, you understand that you know you probably need to put in some safeguards for it.
Yeah, no question. All right, Coach.
I'm not giving you the lighter side on that. You got to hit me with something that's outside my profession to get the lighter side.
Coach, how do you feel about Adrian
or
Peterson?
Just talk about my coaching ability, and I'll talk about my coaching ability. I'll clown on myself there.
Did you miss Brett Rump and his 5 heirs at North Dakota State?
It was brutal. You know what? People actually looked at us like we were a real college basketball team when our radio guy rolled around in some shoes that were actually bought at like a legit athletic store.
Nice.
That's
good.
Know,
and the funny thing is, like you guys aren't sponsored by Myers, are you?
Not
or
yet.
Walmart.
We won't be ever
at Walmart. No, yeah, I know. Well, I won't say which one, but the show is sponsored by one, not the other, and he couldn't make fun of the other because he didn't want to be given a pitch for him on the show. But his Walmart shoes, though I slipped on that, but his Walmart shoes brought a little bit of luck without much style on the road for the Dons.
Have any of the guys gone to
So
Walmart?
This is funny, Billy. You'll like this. So last year, and I made sure, you know, because he's, you know, when he dresses up, he throws a tie on, you know, he classes it up a touch. But the casual look he goes with, you can tell he's spending his dime on his kids, which I can respect that.
Exactly.
But so when I took over the job, I told Coach Sims, I said, listen, we got to dress him up. We got to get him a ton of gear. So we go out on the first trip, and I notice that he's wearing our team sweatsuit, but it's not logoed. And so I have the conversation with him like, hey man, are you embarrassed of Brett? You wanted to give him nice gear, but you didn't want him to be associated with us. It was great. It was great. Now, I found out that he gave it to him early enough just because he didn't want a day to go by that he wasn't classing him up a little bit. So he gave it to him before he got logoed. But Brett does a great job for us. I'm excited. I tell you what, that's a guy who's all in, who's passionate about Don's basketball.
No question about it.
Appreciate everything he's done for us.
Have you thought about getting a Walmart shoe contract next year for the guys so they can wear those as well on the court?
Just for our radio guy. For the radio guy. That's a great idea, though. I am going to make that pitch.
Good stuff.
Mo, did you see the tweet he sent out with those shoes?
Yeah,
I did. And it's too bad that and I'm sure PFW could spring for the $6.36 that they cost there for each of the guys too. It's not a lot. It begs another question though. How come Billy and I haven't received a warm-up suit? Because you can be proud of us.
I know. Hey, give me your sizes. We can work that out. We'll put that on the spring list for you guys.
I tell you what. I'd be proud to wear it.
Here's the thing, though, and I got to be honest with you, I struggle to wear the full suit, the full sweatsuit. I always go kind of miss and match in sides. Like, I'm that guy that just I don't look real cool. Like, our guys look cool rolling around in them. I kind of feel like, you're either a coach can pull it off or someone in the mafia. Other than that, like, you just don't fit in. And, like, I'm that guy that like, on my playing days, I was a little more athletic looking, a little bit more cut. I got kind of the doughy thing going now, so I'm not nearly as suave as I used to. I don't look real good in the sweatsuit. I just look like the guy who just rolled out of Foot Locker.
Coach Kaufman, we'll let you slide, man. Great stuff. Thanks for your time, buddy. We'd love to have you on again very soon.
Well, appreciate you guys having me on. Now tell me, what day was the inaugural call?
Last night was
day. You guys are last night. Now, why did I not get on last night, Billy?
Coach, I wanted to give you a break.
And we haven't gotten the sweatsuit yet.
And we haven't gotten the sweatsuit yet.
How appropriate. Now I see the BS is really flowing now. How appropriate.
We needed a stellar guest for show number 2. We couldn't blow our wad on show number 1, Coach. We had to.
There you go. Now it's really flowing. I like it.
You're the headliner today.
Plus, we thought you'd be great to have on. We thought you'd be the best guest to have on for National Tortilla Chip Day, which is today too, Coach. Did you know that?
Is that right?
Yeah, I hope you got some tortilla chips.
I like it.
Yeah? All right, Coach.
I will.
Go ahead.
Hey, now I am a huge Mexican fan. I do appreciate that. I'm a huge Mexican fan.
Good stuff. That's what we got to do. We got to eat some junk food together. We've had this discussion. The coffees, the chips, the good stuff. We got to do some junk food together, Coach.
Oh no, I got some. Well, I don't know what the word is. Idioms or what's the word? Just I am a quirky eater. I got some stuff. You ought to see me when I go out on a recruiting trip. Like my wife, she gets the credit card bill, and she looks at it and she's like, John, you got to make a decision. Do you want our kids to go to college, or do you want to keep dropping $8.99 every recruiting trip at a gas station on your junk food? And I'll roll onto the team bus after we make a stop at one of those truck stops, and I'll roll on there with hot tamales, some gummy bears, and an ice cream cone. And my guys are looking at me like we got a 41-year-old coach going on 7 as he rolls in there. Hey, you got to do some of those late nights from Chicago. You got to do something to get you through.
Absolutely.
Doesn't that sound like fun, a road trip on a recruiting trip with Coach Kaufman?
Yeah, maybe we can get that to happen, too, after we get the sweatsuits. Coach, have a great night, man. Nice talking to you, buddy, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, sounds good, guys. Take care.
Coach John Kaufman, follow him on Twitter, @Coach Kaufman. He's a pretty funny follow. He puts some good stuff on Twitter.
And he's like, a lot of the coaches that I really like in college basketball, because let's be honest, it's become a game about the coaches because the guys don't stay long enough.
Sure.
Is that he doesn't take everything so seriously.
No, matter of fact, he'd rather talk about tortilla chips and sweatsuits and $6 Walmart shoes than his team's X's and O's.
He's great.
All right, stick around. We got some time left with you on this BS Sports Show on a Tuesday. Weekdays from 7 to 9. It's the BS Sports Show. He's at Mo Radio Show, Mo Time co-host. I'm at Billy Elvis. I almost called you special guest co-host. Those days are gone. You're the co-host, official.
Yeah, and hey, the raise that came with it, spectacular.
Aren't you happy about that?
Same as being special guest co-host. It's awesome.
Stick around. Back in just a few minutes on the BS Sports Show.
Okay, so what do you have?
Ryan, what do you think?
Lollygagging ain't for leaders. They're too busy making plays happen, answering the call, earning their big boy pants. Isn't it time to be the leader you were born to be? The playbook's right there, Captain. What's the call?
We'll have nachos, fried pickles, pretzels, buffalitos, honey barbecue wings, and waters all around.
Grab a seat. The game is on.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Ugh, I hate these big ass prices.
Sounds like you could use some big ass savings.
I'd love some big ass savings.
Kmart Shop Your Way members save 30 cents a gallon.
30 cents a gallon? That's a big ass discount.
Big ass discount.
A really big ass discount.
Really big ass discount.
Honey, this solves your big ass problem.
Totally solves my big ass problem.
Dad, look at that big ass truck.
Big ass man.
Hello, big ass man.
Shop Your Way members get big gas savings. Save 30 cents a gallon when you spend $50 or more at Kmart.
Meet the fuel-efficient Ford Focus. Along with great handling, the Focus also comes with Girls Night Out and Girls Night In and road trips and the scenic route and swimming and weekly car washes and making connections and unexpected speed dating. Only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. With so many ands, where will you end up? The fuel-efficient Ford Focus.
This is Gary Snyder from The Gary Snyder Show, and I have a couple of important questions for you. Do you need some extra cash, and do you have any scrap metal laying around? If you answered yes to either question, which we know you did after all, this is Indiana, then you need to give Clark's a call today, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's wants all of your scrap metal, broken down appliances, old cars, computer parts, copper, aluminum, and even your old cell phones. If it's scrap and if it's metal, Clark's wants it, and they will pay top dollar for it. Clark's is located at 100 Heightsfield Street in Huntington, and they are open weekdays from 8 to 4:30 p.m. Or just give them a ring, 260-356-8314. That's 260-356-8314. Clark's, they want all of your scrap metal.
Chapman's Brewing Company is Northeast Indiana's newest microbrewery. Located in Angola, Indiana, Chapman's is what it means to be local. Chapman's recently launched their American Ale cider that is a unique combination of malted barley, Cascade hops, and fresh apple juice that appeals to both beer drinkers and cider lovers alike. It is truly more than a beer and more than a cider. 3 sips and you'll understand why we love it too. Visit chapmansbrewing.com for a retailer nearest you.
The BS Sports Show.
You need to calm down. I mean, I'm not that excited about this show, and they pay me.
Well, we've made it back, and we're putting the finishing touches on the second BS Sports Show with Mo Time, co-host now with me. I'm at Billy Elvis. He's at Mo Radio Show. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter. You got some Twitiots, don't you? You wanted to touch on here.
I do, because the video yesterday of me defeating. You
didn't defeat him. You did not defeat him.
Go back and watch the video. Now, granted, did he take a fall? who am I to say? Who am I to say that his arm just didn't give out from all the pressure that I put on it with both hands, and he let me win? I'm okay with that. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, like back in the old pro wrestling days, I got my hand raised and I went to the pay window. I was the big winner. So people have decided to tweet in some other things they think would be fun to try to see me fail at.
Ooh.
Evidently, life and marriage and all that stuff is just not enough, so they want to see me fail at more things. Somebody, and this is exciting. We might try to pull this off on Thursday. They want to see us, and by us, I assume it means me, because I can't see you running a 40-yard dash at this point.
No.
I'm sure you're faster than me. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. As I was wheezing coming back up the stairs, and but they want me to do it on the snow and ice, and I think that can definitely be pulled off, because Rich Eisen, who has a radio show and is on the NFL Network, runs the 40 at the Combine every year, but anybody can run it inside.
You're right.
It takes a real man to run it
on ice and snow,
or an idiot.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a great risk of injury with that.
Like, why don't they do more measurables that mean anything at the Combine? Why don't they take them outside in the elements in India and have them throw the ball around?
Very good idea. I mean, we always talk about who's a good cold weather quarterback. Have them throw outside.
I mean, because no matter where you play, you're going to play in cold weather at some point.
Yeah.
But anybody can run in there on the field and make it real nice when everything's perfect temperature and you got a chance. Go outside and run it.
All right.
I will attempt to do coming up on Thursday. And then, we've had a couple of people who wanted to have me pull off some things with the Comets or with Shraki. They say if Shraki wants to fight, they should let me fight him because then it would be a guaranteed win.
Yes.
He wouldn't get hurt.
Yes.
He probably wouldn't even get touched.
We need to make that happen.
I'm worried that when I try to throw my gloves, I won't even do that, right? And they'll get stuck on my hand, and I'll be the guy out there trying to get the damn glove off.
Suggestions for stunts for Mo at Mo Radio Show, at Billy Elvis, at BS Sports, The Fan. Either one of those Twitter accounts. You can get the info as to suggestions on what Mo should attempt. Challenge Mo, if you will. And that arm wrestling tournament that you won last night, if you will.
Right.
Let's just say that had to do with 17-time world champ, star of AMC's Game of Arms. And his name is Andrew Cobra Rhodes, good friend of mine, now good friend of yours. The Arm Wrestling League on ESPN has a qualifying event. 5-1898, the text line. Real quick, some thoughts on Mr. Marshawn Lynch, the Beast, if you will, Beast mode. Totally captivated everyone with his antics with the media.
Right.
I'm only here so I don't get fined, was the phrase during media day at Super Bowl week. And now he's trademarked the phrase, I'm only here so I don't get fined.
I mean, that just makes him smart. I know you and I disagreed about this, big time after the Super Bowl, but, I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. If the guy has nothing to say, I don't need to hear from everybody. And let's be honest, this was my argument to you before, is what have any of these guys ever said that was like, holy crap, I have a whole new outlook on the game now? You get the standard stuff every time. You don't have anybody shooting off the mouth. You don't have Joe Namath, who probably had a couple in him back in the day when he was playing and shooting off guaranteeing wins. You don't have that anymore. So I don't care. And the media, I think, did a disservice to the guy by playing it up more. They continued to show up in throngs after that to have him do it. If you want to shut the guy down, nobody's showing up to it.
Here's what bothers me about it all. There were those that are like, oh, maybe he's just got this phobia, and maybe he's just so bothered, and no. He turned it into his own situation. He turned something he didn't want to do into something for his own gain. Is he entitled to? Absolutely. It's America.
Is he a genius?
It's America.
Yes.
Yeah. Does it make him likable? Not so much. I mean, I'm with you. There's got to be somewhere in between from a guy being just totally self-serving the way Marshawn Lynch was in his antics with the media, whether it's this year's Super Bowl Media Day or last year's Super Bowl Media Day or any media appearance in between. Forget all that. There's got to be somewhere in between where you can get a good comment. And if you do have a problem with it, if you don't like Marshawn doing this exactly the way Marshawn Lynch wants to, showing his irreverence, showing that he doesn't want to do what the league tells him to do, he'll do it his way, and then find a way to capitalize on it by trademarking the phrase he said over and over again, well then maybe the media needs to boycott Marshawn Lynch. Stop sticking microphones in his face. Go over to Richard Sherman and get a good quote.
Well, if you look at it, though, he had the best quote after the Super Bowl was over. The best quote that came was from him. We win as a team, we lose as a team.
Yeah.
It's not on one guy. The best quote after the Super Bowl came from Marshawn Lynch. The thing is, though, do you need to hear from everybody on the football team? Do you really care? Because I guarantee that if a lineman's not talking to the media, nobody's caring. He's not getting fined. Nobody's reporting it. But because Marshawn Lynch is the running back and he's a quirky dude, it causes a big stir. And he's paid his price. To me, it feels like that the NFL, because they couldn't do anything else right this year, they started slapping Marshawn Lynch with a $100,000 fine. Now, to me, that seems a little excessive for a guy who doesn't want to talk to the media.
Yeah, but it's not about what he's doing. It's not about it's not the severity of his infraction against the NFL. It's about insubordination.
Okay.
It's about being asked to do something as an employee of the league and of a team in the league and not doing what you're told.
So what's different then from a losing coach or a losing player who's gotten pissed off after one question and got up and left?
Nothing. I don't think that. I mean, to me, that's more honest. To me, that's more real. To me, what Marshawn Lynch is doing isn't real. To me, it's just flat out, it's screw you. I'm not going to do what I'm told.
Why don't they adapt something like the NBA does to where, in the playoffs, you get a couple of the main guys in there and the coach, and that's it? Do you really need to hear from everybody? I mean, honestly? Do you really need? If he only had to do it once or twice a year, don't you think maybe he would be a little more susceptible to doing it? Because if you go down, I was down in the playoffs last year for the Pacers. You got Paul George and Roy Hibbert one time, and Paul George and David West, and then Coach Vogel, and that was it.
To me, I'm like, these guys make a very good wage to play a game. And if there's a drawback that you have to answer questions from the media, oh, poor baby, answer the damn question.
But let's be honest, though. Not everybody, there's 53 guys on the team. Not everybody probably is media savvy. It probably does bother some people. Or maybe some people just don't want to be criticized.
The questioning they get when they come into the league at the combine is more tedious than anything they'll get in the media room at Super Bowl week.
You're not doing it on camera for people to look at.
Yeah, that's true.
Or think of a guy, if you've been misquoted, or if you've got an axe to grind with a guy, it's going to come back and get Marshawn Lynch, because how many people are going to vote for him for the Hall of Fame because he wouldn't talk to him? That's how these sports writers get their revenge. The whole system is screwed up. I mean, let's be quite honest, because you've got guys, sports writers, who hold grudges, who don't put deserving players in the NFL because they wouldn't talk to him.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's the downside for Marshawn Lynch. Maybe that's why Barry Bonds is having a hard time getting any love from anyone, not just the fact that, he's a known steroid user, but because he wasn't friendly with the media either.
Yeah, but let's be honest. After a while of hearing all this stuff about you, at some point, when you just want to quit answering questions, I mean, if people were piling on you every single day, on television, on radio, in the print, at some point, when you just get fed up with it and say, you know what, screw this, I'm not just going to talk to these guys anymore.
Yeah, maybe that's definitely something that needs to be looked at. I'm with you. Maybe there is a happy medium. For every guy that does not want to answer questions to the media, there's probably there's
100 of them that will.
Yeah, there's a bunch that will give you a good answer. And yeah, you want to talk to the stars of the team. Yeah, you want to talk to Marshawn Lynch. But maybe you have to deal with talking to a lineman.
Well, let's be honest, though.
Or the kicker.
Other than Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman, do you really need any other quotes from the Seattle Seahawks?
No.
I mean, honestly, do you? Because how much do you ever hear from Earl Thomas or from, any of those other guys? You don't hear a lot from them. It's mostly Richard Sherman. And he capitalized the opposite way by going off on his little rant, which I think was pre-planned the year before in the NFC Championship. He made, a ton of money off of that.
Yeah.
Off the interview with Aaron Andrews. So, why is he not to criticize for what he did? There's not it's funny. It takes me back to Phil B. Wilson, from ColtsBlitz.com. We did a show called Colts Talk every Monday, and LaRon Landry was a kind of a douche like that and wouldn't talk to the media. So you know what Phil did? He quit going to ask him questions.
Yeah. And that's maybe the best solution for Marshawn Lynch. Stop asking him questions. Don't show up.
But I think some of these guys, some of these writers, let's be honest, they want to make the story about themselves. If LaRon Landry or Marshawn Lynch pops off at one of these guys, then they become the story too.
That's true. All right, about 5 minutes remain of this Tuesday edition of the BS Sports Show. On the BSSportsShow.com is where you can find the links to listen to the show. Find us on Twitter at Billy Elvis, at Mo Radio Show, at BS Sports The Fan. Plus, we have Facebook pages too. Some scores. Pistons up 9 at halftime on the Cavaliers in Detroit, 62-53. Detroit pouring it on a little bit there with 62 points at halftime.
And LeBron passed Scottie Pippen tonight for most assists by a forward.
How about the 500th career three-pointer for Tayshaun Prince? Yes, Tayshaun Prince back in the Motor City, the ageless one.
How many teams has he been on this year? 4 or 5? I mean, he's been bounced around.
A quarter of the league. A quarter of the league. Pacers trailing the Oklahoma City Thunder 46-38. They're getting close to halftime there. So trouble with the offense there with only 38 points, 2 minutes and 29 seconds to go in the half for the Pacers in OKC. College hoops, it's getting a little tighter, but Maryland still hanging on to a 6-point lead. It's over. Maryland beat Wisconsin.
Wow.
59-53. The Terps knock off the Badgers. Maryland's for real, man.
Now, how do you look at that now as the selection committee with, IU beating Maryland, and then, if they if they get waxed by Wisconsin, how do you look at that? Do you...
that's a good question. Obviously it's a situation where, this was a big game at Maryland,
right,
for the Terps, and only the third loss of the year for Wisconsin. You're not going to win them all. I don't think it means Maryland's a better team than the Badgers. I think Maryland played a great game tonight. So I don't know how you look at that when it comes down to it. It's tough to go head-to-head like that.
You experienced it, too, going into ACC country, back when, they were an ACC team, a year ago.
Right.
It's a tough place to play. You think if you're Bo Ryan now, you're going, damn it, why did we invite Maryland? Rutgers I'm cool with. We can stomp them, but Maryland.
Yeah, to add to the credibility of the Big Ten, baby. But still, just 3 losses on the season for the Badgers, and Final Four team a year ago. They'll be okay this year. They'll be all right. All right. Thanks very much for tuning in. We're going to give you the contact information again. Feel free to give us a call any weeknight between 7 and 9 on this BS Sports Show. Co-hosted by Mo Time at Mo Radio Show and me, Billy Elvis, at Billy Elvis. The phone number, 347-324-5252. That's 347-324-5252. You can text us 260-245-1898. That's 260-245-1898. Or you can email us. And that's the bssportshow@gmail.com. Any other thoughts before we wrap up this show number 2?
I'm interested to see how this situation continues with Adrian Peterson. Do you want to bring that into your locker room at this point? I mean, I know John McMullen said that they'll look at it. Any team will look at it. Hey, we're going to give a guy a second chance. But there were other issues that led to this. The whole buying stuff on his charity's credit card when they were having the parties and buying the hookers. I mean, there's some issues here with this guy. Yeah. And let's be honest, he's not the best father. He's not the most faithful of guys. Not that it's wrong to go knocking up a bunch of women, but he really portrayed a very squeaky image, and all of a sudden things started to fall apart on him pretty quick. So
he will be a good asset to some team somewhere. Not all teams will take a chance on him because of his background. Other teams will take a chance on him because he's a difference-making running back. And the other aspect is he wants to come back and prove himself. He wants to come back and prove he's still a good runner. Wants to show the world that he shouldn't have been banned from football for a year, and he's probably going to have a tremendous year for whomever he plays for in 2015.
I think for Indianapolis, as you talked about earlier, to get him, they're going to either have to trade for him, because if he gets cut loose, I don't think that Indianapolis can sign him to a long-term deal, because you've got T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck, and a couple of those guys coming up in a couple of years. So the only way Indianapolis has a shot at him is to get him for a year, make a run at the Super Bowl next year by trading for him. If he's cut loose, Indianapolis won't be the spot.
At any rate, someone's going to give him a chance. Thank you very much for tuning in. Back tomorrow from 7 to 9. He's Mo Time at Mo Radio Show. I'm at Billy Elvis. It's the BS Sports Show, and we thank you for tuning in.